The question of whether you can use an SD, a standard definition lens, on an HD camera is a question that comes up repeatedly. Folks have SD lenses oftentimes, they're getting a new HD camera and they wonder if they could use it. The answer is in the 2/3 inch, because of the international standard, the lens will operate on the camera. But we certainly would not recommend that, and that needs some explanation. The explanation is understanding that the fundamental difference between SD and HD is one of definition. High definition means we're seeking a great deal more sharpness in our image. And to put some calibration on that, let me explain that an SD lens on an SD camera, a camera of maybe 5.75 megahertz bandwidth, that lens must deliver 32 line pairs per millimeter. And let me illustrate what 32 line pairs per millimeter is. If you can envision a tiny little millimeter of spacing, we have to deliver 32 black and white lines with very high contrast. That's a very good SD lens. Beyond that, we don't care, and the manufacturers don't fuss with the lens. For high definition, which is a lot more definition, we have to talk about 81 line pairs per millimeter. That's 2.7 times more spatial definition that we seek from our lens. That's a big, big difference. Now, the SD lens may be able to deliver you 81 line pairs per millimeter, but it'll be at very low contrast. And because the manufacturers haven't controlled the behavior of the glass at those higher spatial frequencies, you cannot predict how a given SD lens will behave in the higher definition region. The tolerances are much bigger, so you might find one lens that's reasonable, another lens very bad. It is compounded then with the operational controls of a lens, zoom, iris, and focus, because the resolution of a lens, the MTF of a lens, is very dynamic. It changes as you move from the center of a lens element out to the extremities of the image. You can never get it completely homogeneous across the lens element. And in SD lenses, the roll-off from center to corner is much bigger than it is in HD, where we struggle to keep it up by using more expensive materials and more exotic designs. Also, when you move zoom, change focal length, MTF moves in all lenses. It moves much more in the high frequency regions in an SD lens. Again, you just don't know where you're going to be at a given focal length. When you move object distance, you ask an actor to move a certain distance and you refocus, MTF changes again. And that is very uncontrollable, unpredictable in the SD lens, tightly controlled in the HD lens. And finally, the effect of aperture, the iris, that affects MTF, the resolution of the lens. And again, more tightly controlled in the high definition lens than in the SD. So it is all of these variables that tell you that an SD lens on an HD camera in that precious region of high definition is unpredictable, will be very low definition, and very unpredictable in its behavior. Whereas the HD lens will perform the way it was designed at those high frequencies.